Have you ever looked around the room and thought, why wasn't my name put forward? You've led the projects, delivered the results, done everything right. So why are you being overlooked? Welcome to the Your Next Move podcast, the show for high-performing professionals who want to be seen for their brilliance, speak with influence, and accelerate their path to leadership. I'm your host, Kimberly Brown, international career and leadership expert, keynote speaker, and best-selling author of Next Move, Best Move. If you're ready to turn up the volume and finally get seen, heard, and respected inside and outside of your organization, you're in the right place. Let's head into today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to episode 105 of the Your Next Move podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Brown, and today we are going to be talking about how this podcast is changing. And I'm also going to apologize just a little bit. So in January, I started out strong, y'all. I was so excited. I said I was going to be back bi-weekly, and I think I published about 6 episodes before I started to lose steam. I was also in the midst of a new program launch, and things were not connecting with my people in the way that I wanted them to. I really wasn't even sure why. And if I tell you in that moment how I felt, y'all, I was big mad. I was big mad. I hadn't done any type of program launch, and I put together this offer for career coaching that I thought was going to be a hit, and it was not. It was not. I had to call one of my girlfriends, one of my good business girlfriends, and I was venting. I've spent years online speaking about career and leadership development, but I realized that I missed the mark because of 3 big things. And not just for that launch, but also it was the reason why I wasn't excited about podcasting again. But I've changed some things around, and I'm much more confident now. I've invested time, money, resources, done some coaching around how to improve this podcast. But I want to share with you the 3 things I realized, which are also the 3 big things that I'm going to be changing with this podcast moving forward. So bear with me. So, number 1, I am bored with traditional career development tips and tricks. So sometime around 2019, I knew I wasn't the typical resume and cover letter type of career coach that most people think about when they're hiring, or at least the way people expected me to be when they spoke to me. What really lights me up are conversations about leadership and visibility, not necessarily helping someone conduct a job search to get out of a toxic workplace culture. I think most of the time when someone is looking to hire a career coach, many times, especially for entry to mid-level professionals, it's because they want a new job, they want to negotiate a salary, and a lot of times they hate where they work. Like when I tell you their boss is terrible, the company culture is whack, like everything is bad. Everything is bad. Now, can I do a job search? Can I do job search coaching? Yes, y'all. I've done it for years. I spent a very long time, and I mean about 7 years working in higher education, where all I really did was job search coaching for current undergraduate, graduate students, and alumni of all ages and all industries. So, do I know how to do it? Hell yeah. I could do it in my sleep. But I realized the conversations that I enjoy the most are focused on improving key leadership skills that are often overlooked. So, when I'm one on one with some of the clients, conversations I love are talking about becoming a better manager, navigating difficult conversations, and even prepping and mocking those conversations with my clients so they can do it perfectly when they have to, when it's game time in the workplace. We also talk a lot about public speaking and overall presentation skills because no matter where you are, whether you want to stay an individual contributor but have a lot of influence, or whether you want to be a manager and you're consistently interacting with C-suite team, you have to be able to present your ideas. There comes a time where you cannot hide, you can't pass it off to someone. You have to advocate for yourself, and presentation skills and public speaking is key. And last but not least, I love the conversations talking about growing your personal and professional brand. These elevated career conversations is honestly what people come to me for. When I think about where companies hire me, when I think about doing workshops and series, it's all of these leadership skills, not necessarily the old school resume, cover letter, job search things. So that leads me right into number two. The conversations I have with my one on one clients are very, very different. Over the last 3 years, nearly all of my one on one clients have first had the opportunity to meet me while I was on stage speaking at an event, or they were longtime followers and they finally decided they wanted to invest with me. And I can probably say, I always say I'm not like a math person, I'm not a stats person, but if I had to guesstimate, probably 95% of the clients who invest with me are focusing on visibility. I've used this phrase, create a career that creates opportunities for you, literally for years. I'm fairly certain it's on the back of my book. I don't have a copy in front of me at this moment where I'm recording, but I'm pretty sure that's on the back of my book. And but I realize more and more and more that folks don't necessarily know what it means. It sounds good, and when I say it in front of an audience, people are like, "Oh yeah," and they're snapping their fingers or doing that like clock it or eight thing that all the kiddies are doing now, and I always do the wrong finger. They're doing one of those, right? But to break that down, I'm essentially calling for high performing professionals because I say high performing for a reason, because you have to be doing well at your job. That is the basis. If you are struggling to do the core functions of your job, I would not say that you are high performing yet. So I'm saying that once you are high performing, you have your job on autopilot, you know what you're doing. I'm working with professionals in this area to have a visibility strategy for themselves so they can attract new and aligned opportunities. These opportunities don't happen when your head's down working in a silo and not allowing people to experience your personal and professional brand. And I think by now, we all know that your work doesn't actually speak for itself as much as we'd like for it to. So these one on one conversations are mirroring the types of things that I really and truly feel like I should be bringing to the podcast. And that perfectly leads me into number three, which is that you've grown up. I've grown up. I've literally had people rocking with me from when I was a wellness blogger back in like 2011. That is nearly 15 years ago. 15, y'all. And my book is already titled Next Move, Best Move. So I believe that we all should be moving and grooving. I know I have been. I am so far from where I was in 2011. I'm still not where I'd like to be, but I think we're always moving the goalposts. If you are someone who identifies as being high performing, you hit a goal and you generally set another one. Even if you rest for a little bit, there's another goal on the horizon, especially at this phase in our careers where we are later stage millennials, early Gen X. Those are generally the people who kind of talk to me and are really invested in my work. The life and career I have now is wildly different than where I was back then, as it should be. But I've maintained a certain level of conversation over the years. And it's time to level that up and speak publicly on this podcast and all platforms, honestly, about those higher level leadership tips and strategies. If 15 years ago you were an intern, or you were in your first or second job out of school, or even the first job you connected with where you were finally excited to grow, now you could be leading people. You could be leading large scale projects. You have completely different needs. And this is why I was bored. I've essentially been talking the same thing since 2011. And I didn't understand why, when I came back in January 2025 with this podcast, after a year break, mind you, that I still felt stagnant. I didn't feel like I was really showing up on this podcast in the way that I wanted to be. It was because the content was still geared toward Kimberly in 2011 to probably, let's say 2014, 2015, not the higher level roles that I've had, not the higher level things in my business that I'm doing. And so much of that is really leadership tips and strategy. So I'm both nervous and excited about this change, but I truly hope that you're also ready for this content upgrade. And bonus points, if you have not been following this podcast from the beginning and you are looking for that job search content, you do need some of those earlier fundamental skills that we have to gain in the earlier days of our career. There are 104 episodes dedicated to all of those topics. And I even have a little quiz you can take called the Career Growth Scale Quiz, and it will recommend podcast episodes for you based upon where you are in your career. And that encompasses, I think, episodes 1 through probably 100. So I'll probably update it maybe at the end of this year when I have some more episodes. But all of that content is still there. But moving forward, and I legit have planned out episodes through February 2026, so you don't have to worry about this being another false start. We are diving into leadership skills, tips, tricks, mindset, visibility, fear. We are talking about the problems that professionals every single day who are in what I affectionately call the magic middle of the workplace, which is the bulk of the workplace, who I say get all the work and none of the glory, the things that you're dealing with every single day. And if you have questions or topics that you'd like for me to discuss, I invite you to leave me a voicemail. So if you go to speakpipe.com/your next move, this will be in the show notes. You can leave me a voicemail with your questions, or go ahead and hit me up on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm everywhere. But I would love for you to leave me a voicemail so I can hear your voice, hear your concern, and directly answer them on a future episode of this podcast. And as always, I thank you for rocking with me. I hope that you're excited. I'm excited. And let's go on this ride together. Until next time, as always, may your next move be your very best move. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Your Next Move podcast. If this episode has helped you get clearer on how to get seen as a leader, speak with influence, and step into rooms where you belong, please share it with a colleague or friend who needs to hear it too. And if you're ready to develop a speaker brand that opens doors and attracts the right opportunities, head to KimberlyBOnline.com/TVS-waitlist to explore how we can work together. Until next time.